Hey everyone, it's Kelly with Brave Parenting. Today we're going to talk about parents' screen time. So that means all of us parents, adults, grandparents, anyone who has any influence over a child. We're going to look at our screen time on our smartphones and what that really looks like and how we can create better habits. It's really important to reflect on this no matter how hard and humbling that can be, because our habits are directly influencing children's habits. How we engage and how much time we spend on that phone is influencing how much time they want to spend on their phone. What we think is very normal, productive work and communication on our smartphone turns into them surfing social networks or playing games, which is a common way that they're using their own smartphones when they're young. So we need to recognize our own habits first. If we want to build good character in our children, we need to be demonstrating the self-control, the respect, the kindness, the honesty in our habits first, so that our children can then go model them as well. It's important to note that when asked, that 51% of teens said that they feel like their parent is distracted by their phone. So when it comes to engaging, especially with teenagers, right? They're not going to engage when it's convenient for you. They're going to talk and communicate when it's convenient for them. And if they feel like you're always distracted by your own phone and that you don't have time for them, chances are you may not get them to communicate at all. So this is really important if you're raising teenagers, to recognize your own habits and distractions. Even younger, when asked, 32% of 8 to 13-year-olds said that they felt unimportant or that they had to compete with their parents' technology in order to get their attention, right? That is too much. If we are spending this much time on our phones, that our children may feel unimportant compared to just a device, right? Too much. We need to humbly reflect and look at our own habits. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to talk about the iOS 12 update that just came out this week and its feature of screen time. Right? We've been really excited about this because it enables parents to be able to exert more granular control over each app and how much time their children are engaging on their phones. But before we even talk about how we're going to do that for our kids, the first step is always looking at ourselves. How are we going to make sure that our habits and our behavior is what we want and what we want reflected in our children? If we can't do it, we can't expect them to do it either. So there's been some criticism about the iOS 12 screen time, saying that it causes more work for parents and that it's, really hard. It's telling you that, you're addicted, but it's not giving you enough, choices to fix those habits. I disagree. Being a brave parent means putting in the hard work of developing character. And so you need to be willing to do this. So let me show you some ways that we're going to start with us and then move on to our kids in the next video. So when you open your iPhone and you go to the settings, you're going to find the new feature of screen time. One of the best features that we're going to talk about here is downtime. Downtime is literally downtime, where your apps are not going to be available to you. So you can see it here. It's the first option, and you have to enable it. So yes, you want this. And then you're going to see that the default times are 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., which is, of course, our nighttime. Yes, it's important to get sleep, but I encourage you as parents to consider what time should actually be your downtime. For me, it's from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And that is when my children are home from school, we're eating dinner, we're working on homework, we're engaging. This time is when I don't want to be distracted by unwanted notifications or things that really are not as important as my children are. So that's my time. Once you do this, you can then set what apps you're going to allow during this time. So under always allow, it's going to always allow the phone, right? Someone's always going to be able to communicate with you on the phone because, well, that's what it's for, right? A phone. You can enable your text messages to still be on during this time. Maybe other things like the calculator, if you really want your email, whatever that may be, you can always allow those. And then you're going to choose which apps are going to be not allowed during your downtime. So I highly encourage you to put in your downtime your social media networks, any games, any entertainment apps, anything that just sort of draws you in and kind of sucks you in, and then you lose 30 minutes or an hour of your time and you're not engaging with your children during that time. Now, you are able to set these limits and you can turn them on and off, But what's important is that you recognize that you're wanting to change these behaviors. And this downtime is going to help you do that. Now, what it looks like once you're in downtime, so for me, it would be like from 4 to 8 p.m., the screen is going to be darkened. All of the apps that are not available to me are going to be darkened and have a little hourglass that shows not at this time. And this app is not available to you until right 8 p.m. And then they come back up. Now, sure, you're going to be tempted to just override and turn off the downtime, which you can. But again, I encourage you to be brave in this area and to allow this downtime to help you truly escape from the phone, escape from the screen, and set a better example and engage with your children during this time. Now, another thing that you can do with screen time is set specific app limits. Now, how this is going to look is you choose the app limits, and then it's going to take you to a set of categories. And you can set these limits based on the categories themselves, not necessarily specifically for each app. But here I chose social networking. You can see that I chose an hour and 30 minutes. Now, after you look at your activity, maybe for a week, you can see, oh, I definitely need more because of business and work or whatever that may be. And then you set it. So maybe you see that you are using 3 hours and you say, well, I want to be better. So set your limit to 2 hours and 30 minutes, maybe. Kind of wean yourself down into a better, healthy place. If your guilty pleasure is Netflix, right? Set your Netflix at a lower time, always trying to make yourself better during this time. I mentioned viewing your activity, and that's a great thing that you can do through the screen time as well, is to look at how you are engaging with your phone. Now, I've heard it said that, yeah, this is where people say, you can see that you're addicted and how much time, but again, you truly have to want to make these habits better. You can see here on mine, these screenshots were taken right after I downloaded the iOS 12 download onto my phone, so I don't have a whole lot of activity here, really just 55 seconds, right? But if I'm going to click on Kelly's iPhone, I'm going to take a look at what I'm doing. So here I spent 6 minutes. There's the creativity app feature, which is kind of like the pictures that I was taking these screenshots. There's also, you can see how much time you're spending inside of social networking, communication, all of those different things. And even more specifically, how much time inside each app, which apps are most used. So if you're curious which app you're using the most or how much time specifically you're spending on Facebook or text messaging or Twitter or whatever that may be for you, you can see it here. And you can also see how many times you're picking up your phone. So when you have it in your pocket and you feel that buzz or hear that ding and you take it out just to see what it was, and it was a notification of something you really didn't need, but because you had your phone out, you went ahead and went in and checked in on Instagram to see if there was anything new, right? Those sorts of distractions we want to decrease, if not completely limit. So right here, you can see what notifications that came in, and then you can just click right there and choose to turn those notifications off. If you don't need to be notified by an app, don't be. Don't allow that distraction to keep you away from the most important things in your life. Also, here, it allows you to create or change your screen time password. Now, I know my own password, but in order to allow more accountability in my life, I'm going to have my husband change it to something that I don't know. That way, when I'm tempted to override all of these limitations, I can't because I don't know the password. You may think, oh, that's a terrible idea. But this is how we make healthier choices and better habits in order to model for our children. When it comes time to set up your child's phone with these same screen time limits, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to put a password on there where they can't override it. If you can't do it yourself, chances are you can't expect your children to do it either. It always starts with us creating the better role model and being the better person so that our children can fall into that same character. So let's review why we are doing this, because a lot of people are thinking, I don't want to limit, I'm fine, my habits are just fine, I don't need to be any better than I am now. The number one reason is because your children are watching. It has been said that they learn more by what they see than what they hear. So if you are always on your phone and always distracted, you better believe that when they get their own phone, they too are going to be the same exact way because they're learning it from you. Not only that, but other children are watching. Even if you are somewhere where your children are not, but other children can see how much you're engaging with your phone instead of engaging with your spouse. Take, for example, you're at a restaurant and you see a couple maybe in their 70s and they're not talking to one another. They're just staring at their screens. Well, our young children are looking at that, observing that, and taking that in as normal life. That's how a normal relationship looks like, because if grandma and grandpa are always staring at their screens, well, that when I'm with my friends, I can stare at my screens too. This is truly how it's rewiring the brain, and they're sort of digesting this new reality as normal. Also, because really it's just not that healthy. It's not healthy for us to be having this much screen time. It can affect our sleep, it can affect our mood. We too can suffer from the fear of missing out. But with these new features, we can truly change our habits for the better. Remember, we need to demonstrate the character first if we want our children to be able to grow up with this technology and still be able to model the same character. Now, if you are looking for other ways to build character in your children, I encourage you to jump over to Amazon.com and purchase Brave Parenting's book, Managing Media Creating Character. This book helps you establish standards for how your children will grow up and utilize media and technology in a very healthy, character-driven way. If you are parenting toddlers, it's great to start these standards early. And if you have teenagers and you sort of feel like you just need to hit the reset button, or you didn't do anything as they got their phones and now you feel like you're a little out of control, you need to go hit a restart, this is a great way to do that. So jump over to Amazon and get your copy today. Thank you so much for joining me here. My name is Kelly with Brave Parenting. I encourage you, when you get the iOS 12, be brave and set your screen time limits. Thanks. We'll see you next time. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. Thanks, y'all.